back to another LinuxGameCast Weekly, the show that covers the latest Linux gaming news, reviews, how-tos, and most importantly, whatever the hell else we come up with. This week, Crow Team achieves smoother frame rates via VDPAU and LSD, and we show you a handy tool for getting instabanned on the Steam. And voice actors rise up and spin it round their head like a helicopter.
Alien isolation is confirmed! Again! Woo! Vulcan is totally in the losing camp, which is why NVIDIA, Intel, and everyone else is on board with it. And Kickstarter turns over a new leaf. It's the same amount of green on either side.
SOMA is live, and I'm scared it's going to be amnesia level short. AMD loses one more person. This time it was the CPU guy. And Stunt Rally gets a new version release, and the physics still make you question your life decisions.
I'm Vince Stone here switching the bits in Athens, joined every week by our tamed Canadian podcaster with a new background. Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow,
it's
yeah.
terrifying.
Look at my...
Mesmerizing.
I have nowhere else to put it shelf.
Look at all
Brilliant.
those hard drives. Giggity. And from Space Portugal, Pedro Mateus. Joined every week with Chat Realm Dynamic doing this business live. Because together, we form a bit of a cocaine Voltron. Before we get started, we'd like to see what's going on in each other's life organs. I'll start I was running the latest Goog's Android on the Nexus 10, and it was just sluggish as balls. I was like, fine, whatever, clockwork, boom. Went back to the CMod Nightlies. It's like a brand new device. Love it. Unfortunately, that means 3 months from now, I'll download a nightly like I did last time. That completely eradicates everything and forces me to go back to stock Android. What's up, J-Man?
Oh, yeah, no, I had to move the desk 90 degrees, as Ven mentioned earlier. So now you get a full view of what the hell is on my bookshelf. It's mostly crap and books. And, yeah, no, roommate got a Wii U, so we've been playing a lot of Mario Maker. Some of those levels, man, they're fucking sadistic. Just evil people.
And around these parts, I've not been doing a whole lot. It's basically work, get home, play some Neverwinter Nights, because I managed to get the native Linux version working on Corona 21. So I've been playing through the original campaign. It's surprising how it still holds up. The graphics look like ours, yes, but it's pretty good.
Well, one thing that's always going to hold up is the horse, which we need to visit like we do every week.
Actually, the horse has been trying to bribe some people. It's kind of not cool. We're going to talk about that a little bit in our Steam Update of the Week.
Oh, man. Our Vive, bad vibes. This is from our Vive. Turns out that, HTC kind of walked up in, our Vive, and then like, yo, check this out. We're going to give you free stuff. You make us some mods, and we're going to kind of control the content. And the genuinely shocking thing about this, out of all the moderators, only one mod went, wait a minute. We're not doing this. This is not how it works. And this is such a common problem on Reddit with companies doing that. Kind of you wonder why, I posted a negative thing about this company and the post got deleted. Oh, no. It's usually, something along those lines. But, yeah, HTC just walked in and like, boom, make us mods. And one guy, we want to give him credit, who was 500, doing all that business, so that's all sorted out. I'm kind of with you, J-Man. It's kind of sketchy of them, huh?
It's super sketchy, but I mean, at this point, are we really surprised? Lots of big companies basically go into these small forums, and they'll astroturf the place. They'll have their hired people register for accounts and try to steer the conversation in the favor of whatever product they happen to be shelling at the time. But it makes sense that they'd want their fancy new high-risk hardware venture to have some sort of positive community moving towards it. But this is the wrong way to do it. You engage with the community, you show them that you're good dudes, you listen to their concerns, and then you apply it to the product. This is just, I mean, it's bribery. It's straight up bribery, and good on the guy who runs our Vive for actually just nuking everything, firing all the mods in question, and banning HTC. Mind you, I was thinking about this earlier this week. We need to make Radeon Roy a mod on Chatroom Static because he's offering us like 4 R9 nanos each.
Wait, and so if we like stack all 4 R9 nanos up, it'll match performance of what, like a 960 maybe?
I
Linux?
don't
Yeah.
think
Yeah, I'm
I don't,
probably
I
being
don't
a little
even think your computer will
optimistic,
power
but-
on at that point.
B-Man, do you got any thoughts on this nastiness?
I thought it was interesting that he also posted screenshots of the entire mod mail that was going on, and everyone was like, oh, 500 still hasn't replied to this, but he should be okay with it. And then he finally comes back and he's like, nope, everyone's banned. Bye.
Awesome. It's good stuff. But, you know, the king is dead. Long live the king. I am the king. No, this is a article from WCCFtech.com. The links to all this stuff is in our show notes. And it is an article with some questionable content in here. He is saying that the future for Vulcan looks kind of hazy, given that DirectX 12 is coming into a lot of prominence lately in the news. And of course he goes on and he says, well, because there are DirectX 12 games in the works now, this is going to be the dominant 3D language. And he goes and he references Dave Ginsburg's speech. I think he was giving a presentation at SIGGRAPH about how Vulkan is the future. Because it's almost as if you have a bunch of companies working together on a standard 3D graphics language implementation that everyone can use, that works on like iOS and Windows and Linux and Mac and Android. And, you know, people are going to want to use that aside from it instead of vendor lock-in.
I don't know. When I was reading this, definitely one of the things I kind of wish when I got down to the bottom of this article, it said sponsored by Microsoft. That would have genuinely made me feel a little better. That way I could call Mr. Palumbo a shill instead of a clueless MSDX12 fanboy like he is. Because you get popular indie titles like Rocket League, SOMA, Axiom Verge, they're all going to the PS4 because of that wacky cross-platform library called OpenGL. It works on mobile, tablets, Linux, PS4, and Windows. Vulkan, and if you don't know what it is a horrible analogy, but we're doing it for time's sake. It's OpenGL on fuck-mothering Heisenberg grade crystal blue. Like it or dislike it, it's the future. I hate to break that to you. Yes, and I will concede that DX12 will bring a proper just gaming experience to Windows Phone. And I'm just fucking with you. Because seriously, those phones sold about as well as the Xbox One. P-Man?
Yeah, there was a bit in the article that he says, right now, the only game officially coming to Vulkan is Dota 2 Reborn, which is already out. While there are many more DirectX 12 games already scheduled. Mm-hmm. There is already one game out that basically has Vulkan support.
Well, they released that, what was it, Fable DX12 demo, but they didn't...
Yeah.
Demo! Key point there.
Yes.
Demo! There is not a single one finished game currently out that supports DirectX 12. What the fuck is his point?
And there's this wonderful thing. It's kind of a big deal in software development. It is called code reusability, where I don't have to rewrite my renderer for every single platform. You think maybe that's an important thing that developers want on their side, but, you know, vendor lock-in, it's all good.
Nah, man, that's
it's time
crazy
to tune in. It's time to watch the boob tube.
Click! All right. Hashtag Conan. Turner sets to unveil televised esports league featuring CSGO and, why?
Non-stop action intercut with commercials every 3 minutes. Yeah. Thrilling stuff.
It was like, kind of not sure that the people who play the CSGOs tend to, pay for the cables and watch all that business. And really, the only thing I can think of is like maybe if they just stream this gratis online,
yeah,
it might work. But then I was thinking about it a bit more, and I was thinking, Sports Ball works very well for stuff like this because you have different innings and like that, and quarters, and throws a flag or something like that, and you want to take a break. You can't stop in the middle of a CSGO. P-Man, could I stop and go to commercial in the middle of a match?
There is the competitive matches in CSGO have like a halfway point. You finish 15 rounds, and then it starts another.
How long does 15 rounds take?
It depends. It really depends on the map, on the skill of the
if you're
players,
gonna ballpark it on an average, like 20 minutes, 30
Like-
minutes, an hour, or what?
like 25 minutes ish to up to 45 minutes for each
Cool,
of the halves.
So one commercial every half hour. That's not gonna fly on broadcast television. No one's gonna pay for
probably
that.
not. But I was reading the article and it says the rich history of the game. Dude, it's Counter-Strike. There's terrorists and there's the other guys. They shoot at each other.
Someone
That's
sets us
it.
up the bomb.
Basically.
I don't know. I just kind of see this being kind of dead in the water. No, I mean...
Well, there was that Dota 2 showing up on ESPN, too.
right.
Yeah.
Well, the only thing I really
the
enjoyed
Ocho?
about that was everyone sitting waiting for their sports ball going, damn video. And I'm like, guys, okay, you're sitting and watching other people play games as opposed to watching other people play games. That's what ESPN is. So,
Yep.
sorry. Up next,
Up next, Alien Isolation.
I feel so isolated.
Confirmed.
YOLO.
Yeah, again. It's not like last week where we had to scrub that from the internet. No, it's for real this time. No, it's coming out on September 29th, which is a couple days. What, like?
Look at the price on Brad, man.
Yeah, 4 days away, and it's a AAA game though. That's
a year-old AAA game.
It's a year-old AAA game, but I mean, this is the price you're paying. It's fully voice acted. There's actually not a lot of voice acting in there, just because you're running around staying silent most of the time. But yeah, no, it's finally coming to Linux. Fine folks at Feral are porting it, and then you had some issues with the system requirements, didn't you?
Well, I mean, I was just kind of looking at it, and
Actually, it was Pedro who had an
yeah,
issue with this.
the recommended is an Intel i7 64-bit 3.0 gigajoule CPU. So Strider's going to be happy. Us over here in AMD land, I was like, oh, bother. I was kind of hoping maybe, J-Man's got things like, well, they bought all those AMD CPUs, and I was like, hopefully. But if it does suffer some type of performance, because it's a Sega title, I hope it runs Shadow of Mordor bad, which was playable, because it still maintained 30 FERPs, versus Company of Heroes 2 bad, which was just genuinely unplayable.
20 FERPs, 18 FERPs,
Right.
10 FERPs. But and you know what game needs to come back? I played the shit out of that in high school. Was Alien versus Predator, where you could play like the Marines, the aliens, or the Predators. That was a fun game.
Michael Jackson versus E.T.
Yeah,
I
I saw your little picture of the show notes.
Of
There. It's
Alien,
cute. I like it.
an Alien versus Predator, Alien versus Predator multiplayer. I
Is that
was
like
one of the
Wait,
assholes.
is the Predator kind of like the regular Predator with a lisp?
Yes,
No. The Predator is the predators
Going-
that come to China to hunt people. Oh, that's just so racist. One thing to note though, they are saying that AMD cards are not going to be supported from the get go. It's the same sort of, hey, we're only supporting Intel. It'll run on AMD cards. We won't tell you how well. But Pedro is just like wetting his pants constantly, isn't he?
Yes, I am. I like me some frictional horror. Ever since Penumbra Overture came out, and that, I think it was the very first Humble Indie bundle.
It was.
I was absolutely in love with their style of horror. And then they released Amnesia: The Dark Descent, and it was balls to the walls amazing.
Don't try to run
But
this
it
on a
was-
distribution from 2013, though.
Yeah. But it was very, very short. And now we get SOMA, day one, simultaneous release between
You get it?
Windows, Mac, and Linux. So that's kind of awesome. Good on Frictional. They keep supporting Linux, and I personally would very much, for every single person out there, to actually give them money. Whether or not you like horror, let them know we like their work. And the only thing that's kind of throwing me off with this game is that Amnesia, like I said, was very, very short. And even though this one was a 21 gigabyte download, it was shaping up to sort of be kind of short too.
I don't know. I kind of got in the show notes with J-Man, and I was like, I don't know if I want to play the same game a seventh time.
Yeah, but I mean, you can make that argument for any number of game genres, like Madden, first-person shooters, like Unity point and click adventures, all that stuff. It's it's like AC/DC. It's the same shit again and again and again and again and again. I don't know. I personally I find the style of survival horror interesting from like a theoretical perspective, but when in practice it tends to fall flat. Because I like the idea of emphasizing your helplessness through the mechanics where you can't actually fight the guy. Except I think Alien Isolation does this incredibly well. You can scare away the aliens. You cannot like straight up try to take them on. And that's a better way of emphasizing your helplessness because it allows you to escape by the skin of your teeth, but aside from getting killed to death. Mind you, facehuggers and Alien
I mean,
Isolation
unless you're
won't
just
do that
completely
right
new to anything that Frictional makes, you notice that the second you take a step out, there's something out there getting ready to skull fuck you. So you're just
pretty much, and you have no recourse. It makes you feel a little better when, at least in like
Actually,
pigs, there are guns on the walls you can pick up.
they have a stun gun.
In this game, you do have some recourse because the first time you get killed, you get brought back to life of sorts. You're kind of knocked out and you wake up. But then you walk around really slowly and you have to find one of those healing pods. That's the buffer, I suppose.
I don't know. Kudos to Frictional. They sent us keys for that. We'll be taking a look at it in the future. All right.
But, speaking of underwater, how about some sailboats?
It's all about Principle, man. The Talos Principle update. This rolls off the tongue. 24.6.379 public beta. The only thing in this that I really noticed was on Linux, VDPAU can now be used for displaying frames. It's used to achieve smoother frame rate because it allows precise tracking and scheduling of frame times. You can kind of throw this in the console, and when you do, there's a small graphical glitch that I've noticed.
small one.
Small.
And, yeah, it kind of goes to that, and I gotta give Strider.
It's a sailboat.
Strider made me laugh
Strider.
out loud because we were in chat room static, and I posted that. And he was like, "It's a sailboat," and I was like, "Well played, sir. Well played."
Yeah, all we need is like Ethan Suplee coming out and freaking the fuck out.
I was a little disappointed because I wanted to do like a benchmark comparison to see if VDPAU and all that. Talk to the developers. Developers are like, I love Crow Team because I mean this is a public beta, and they're like, "You tried that? Did it work?" Question mark. And I was like, "No." Then they're like, "Okay, well, we'll try to fix it for the next release, man. We'll keep you informed." I was like, "Okay, well, we'll get around to that."
Crow Team's always been a bunch of cool guys. I like them. Yeah. But Highlanders.
Free
Remember,
stuff.
back to the planet.
Lots and lots of free stuff. Yeah, the guys at Hammermon Games, they released Victor Vran a while back, and now they've just been pumping out DLC, but contrary to most other game companies, it's free DLC. Yep. This one introduces the Highlander outfit. You have to do the teeny tiny bit of hoop jumping in order to unlock it, but it's easy enough to do. Just, it's more free DLC, more content that you don't have to pay for. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm not going to complain as long as they keep pumping out free stuff. And I mean, like, I don't know why they're doing that. I guess it's just made available in case people are interested.
Well, it can always be kind of different because every clothing device you have has different
powers.
Yeah. So, I mean, it'd be interesting. I didn't get a chance to play with it too much this week, so I'll definitely be looking at it.
This one's actually interesting, though, because it lowers your special attack cooldowns. So that might be handy if you rely on those if you're playing like a shotgun wielder or something like that. But it's time to get mighty again.
Well, let's talk about things that aren't quite. Mighty number 9 gets a new release date. Over 2 years since the project 99. And this is the same guys who didn't release this on time, nowhere near, and they tried another Kickstarter, and everybody went, "Nope, we're not backing that, son." It will be coming to consoles and PC on February 2016, North America. And what in North America and what's am I reading this right?
In
North America and
February 2016 in North America and February 12th worldwide.
And February 12th. Okay, so if you don't know about this is the Mega Man guy who created Mega Man, right?
Yeah. It's,
Keiji Inafune.
He left Capcom, and now he's making a new game in Unity.
Here's some things that
3 years later.
Earlier this week, before they kind of went, "Oh shit," because they did kind of have a little shitstorm earlier this week. Well, it was last week. Let me take that back. They were supposed to come out with a demo on the Steams, and they said, "Okay." And I didn't know about this, and I was reading up on it because I don't I just wasn't going to back this project until it was out because they're like, yeah, Linux support maybe. But the demo, and they're like, okay, it's supposed to come out, and they said, no, we're not going to release that. But they didn't say that anywhere except on a non-related post on their fucking actual web zone. They didn't put it on the Steams or on the Kickstarters. And they finally went, after somebody discovered that, and they were like, oh shit, and they went back and tried to fix that. And for this demo, they were only going to let you play it for 1 month. And I was like, are you high?
What?
Yes, I know. But then after all this, they said, okay, we're going to make it DRM free, and now they're working with Humble to distribute the game and all that, which will probably result in just Steam keys. So, yeah. My sketchy meter is like... We'll see.
According to Strider on Chatroom Dynamic, apparently it's being ported, the Linux version is being ported by the same guy that did SOMA, aka the same guy that did Shadow Warrior. Yeah.
I'm not going to talk about too much about the quality of the Linux SOMA port, but there's some issues.
Yeah, there's
it's a
shitty
with the
PC port.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll get into that next week or the week after.
We'll expand on that next week. But yes, expand.
Speaking of expanding.
Yes. They describe it as a meditative video game in which you explore a circular labyrinth that constantly twists, stretches, and expands around you. That's what... Funny. So the developer actually got in touch with us. He's from down under Australia. He said he might join us today in Chat Realm Dynamic. I haven't seen him yet. So if you're there,
Australia's
Chris, let us know.
Midday Sunday drinking show. So
it is. I don't know. Watching the trailer was a bit hypnotic. I'm watching it. I'm watching it now, and what's that? Yes. Kill Ronald Reagan.
It's like a very slow motion version of Super Hexagon. It's not as epileptic seizure inducing, but it's still rocking the claustrophobia factor.
Definitely, I was looking at it. I was like, couldn't you make it blink really fast? Because for thinning out, for science, right? I just want like a seizure simulator 2015. I'm a horrible person. I know this.
You could probably make one in Unity easily enough. make
my DLC. Come on,
yep. But yeah, it will only be available September 30th. It'll be around $10, so probably 10 euros or 12 Canadian dollars.
Because Canada.
Because Canada.
So
yeah, look forward to it next Wednesday if you like this kind of games. If not, well, screw you.
And up next, we talk about some rough issues with the VAG, the Voice Actors Guilds. And Xorg Enters goes the way of the dodo. We'll talk about it.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is usually the news segment. But before we get to some actual Linuxy news, we'd like to thank some very special people.
Who are you talking about? I mean, has somebody got a crush on us?
They love us so much they keep giving us money.
Strapping young lads named Chad and Truggleswick gave us some more money on the Patreon. We are currently sitting at $139 per Saturday Night Trainwreck. If we get to $150, that is literally $11 away. You get a brand new show from us, LinuxGameCast Weekly Daily Wednesdays, and it's a show about all sorts of random non-gaming Linuxy stuff, and maybe some gaming Linuxy stuff. Sort of a midweek update of what's going on, what's happening, and you can get in on this action by clicking on that Become a Patreon button. Well, we really want our numbers, so it doesn't really matter if you want to give us $1, $2, or 5 cents. Really, 5 cents is what we're asking for. We want those numbers to be inflated so that we can go to people and say, hey, there is an audience into Linux games. They're willing to pay for it. Guys, port your shit. And we got some benefits. We got a couple more goals. If we get to 250, we do some merch runs. We get some novelty mirrors, maybe some I don't know, there was some Rick and Morty reference that has escaped me at the moment, but it's good stuff.
Yeah,
Good stuff. Check it
genuinely,
out.
I was kind of worried. I'm kind of worried now because when I was like $150, we'll never get under. Me and Pedro, we're safe. We'll never have to do that show. Now we're $11 away, and shit's getting real, son. So
it's getting riggedy real. So check us out, patreon.com/LinuxGameCast. But then I hear your union is having some issues.
Well, yeah, this comes from comicbook.com. Video game voice actors voting on a strike. As a proud member of the Film Actors Guild, South Park reference, hope you get it.
Team America reference.
Yeah, it's coming down. Basically, what I'm going to throw in is we want an option for like back-end bonuses. Giggity, quagmire.jpg. Go ahead and do that. And that's basically when you get your initial job, that you can get a percentage of the sales for the game. Now, you know, first thing you think is like, what about any developers? They need all that money. Well, one of the stipulations thrown in there is like, that's if sales reach 2 million plus, then you get some of the return on the back end. And that'll, you know, really keep anybody safe. I kind of think that's kind of fair, kind of not, because the way I normally work, if I'm doing, that's mainly why I do commercial reads as opposed to video games, because there's not much money in there and people will take what they can get. I mean, there's a billion people trying to do it.
Just look at Ensign 1.
I want to, if you think about doing something, just say you'll do it for rev share. A lot of times somebody comes up to me and then, I mean, this happens maybe once every 3 or 4 months. And I'm like, okay. And I was like, well, you can't meet my minimum for this, but I'll do it for a few $100 plus 7%. And I'm like, okay, we'll do that. And these are like mobile titles, small indie games and stuff like that. My bit of advice to you is stick with that and never do anything for free. Because you think, oh, I'm just going to say some lines, and that's going to be the end of the story. That will never be the end of the story. They'll want you to do it 50 damn different ways, and it can get hella annoying. And if anybody ever comes up to you and says, I would like to give you an opportunity to be in our game for free, just run, Brad. But you got some thoughts on that?
That's one to see my pecker level of run. But one of the main complaints I hear about this is, well, the developers and the artists don't get this kind of deal. That's the wrong sort of argument, because they should be. These movies, or not these movies, these video games take a lot of time and efforts to make. It takes a lot of creative input from programmers, from voice actors, from
I think
artists,
you
and
just had
so
an
on.
incredible Freudian slip. I mean, it's
Yeah.
art.
So some of these games are fairly indistinguishable from movies. Look at Metal Gear Solid 5. I mean, shit. You can't even get good story like that in theaters these days. But and that just goes to show you there is a lot of effort and a lot of just quality talent and work put into these games. Everyone involved should get a cut if the game is successful. Yeah, you got a picture of Matt Mercer there. I don't remember who everyone else is, but it's important that everyone gets their fair due, not just the voice actors, but everyone. And this is the first step. I agree that like voice acting seems easy, but it isn't. Just ask Ben about screaming in a hot tin box all day. Good stuff.
7 or 8 hours. But yeah, voice actors, just like developers, just like everyone else involved in a video game, if it does well enough, they should get a cut of it. That's just fair. But this wouldn't be Linux Gamecast news if we didn't talk about some drivers. This week, the Xorg Edgers PPA is no longer supporting the NVIDIA or the AMD proprietary drivers. If you want those drivers, you're going to have to use the proprietary GPU drivers, PPA, which is actually officially supported by the Ubuntu team. So if you're on Ubuntu or Mint or Elementary OS or any of the other spin-offs, you should be using this one if you want to use the proprietary drivers. Now, if you want to just keep up with Xorg and use the open source drivers, go ahead, keep using the Xorg Edgers. But if you want proprietary, you gotta use the new one.
Yeah, it's definitely two things. I was thinking the other day, I was like, well, I need to make sure I'm at the latest, because I was going to, what we talked about earlier with that VDPAU.
Yep.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I'm giving that a try. And I was like, it's been a while since I've seen an update. And I remember when Ubuntu first announced, like, we're going to do our own thing. And I was like, you do your own thing, little buddy. I'm going to stay on the Xorg Edges because I'm old and I'm lazy. And it's Ubuntu and it's fucking Russian roulette building the drivers from source on this damn box. But that's one way to make me use it. I'll give them
Yeah,
that.
that's you get
Yeah,
you have a
yeah.
reason to use it.
I seem to remember hearing about this a couple months ago. I'm not an Ubuntu user in any capacity, so this is just hearsay. But yeah, I heard that Ubuntu just wanted to have control over the proprietary driver distribution as like just a thing you enable when you boot in. I remember back in like Ubuntu 7.10 or whatever, 7.04, when you logged in, it gave the option, hey, do you want to use proprietary drivers? Do you want to use the open source drivers? What's the deal? So it's probably just an extension to that so that people can get up and running faster. I don't know.
Up next, play PC games in the Chrome browser.
See, this is really, really cool. And it's not coming to Linux. This is from the NVIDIA GeForce Experience. It is functionality that allows you to stream games from one seat, from like your desktop, to another browser running Chrome. They give the example here of Rocket League. This has some really cool potential because what you could possibly have are games that don't have network multiplayer all of a sudden have network multiplayer because you share the screen. The browser exposes the gamepad as like input 2, and then you can play stuff like Towerfall or Megabyte Punch. Online with someone as if they were playing right next to you on a couch. Like I said, though, this is in the NVIDIA GeForce Experience, which does not currently exist under Linux, but Valve does license this stuff to use for Steam streaming. It's the exact same code. So it would be interesting to see if something like this comes as a feature to Steam. That would sort of fit in with their big streaming motif. You got it? I don't know. Seems legit.
Yeah, it is. This is specifically inside the GeForce Experience. This comes from Shadowplay. And with every single NVIDIA driver update that we've seen, they have VDPAU improvements. So how about we get some Shadowplay on the Linuxes?
That's one of the reasons I even bothered to put that in the notes. And I was like, they can do it. And it would be neat. The entire time I was watching the video at the beginning, I was like, whatevs. Oh, great. You can multi. And they're like, local. Then that clicked, and I was like, oh, all those games that have local on, no online, but local multiplayer, you'll play with a friend. I want to see how this actually works in the real world, because I know a lot of people, I don't think you're going to be able to pull this experience off with like a megabit of upstream or anything like that. And the other thing I'm kind of looking forward to, making some popcorn for, is the game developers. This will cost us money somehow, even though there's no way it possibly could. And they
you're letting more people play your game, which will probably cause them to buy it if they enjoy it. That's how that works.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
You see, Jordan, this is where you're screwing up. You're using logic.
Right.
You're losing really old logic. You know what else uses logic? CPUs. But apparently the AMD CPUs will not be using so much logic from now on, because the guy on the right in that picture that guy on the right, he left AMD, is Mr. Jim Keller. He was the guy that came up with the bulldozer and pile driver architectures.
No, he came up with the K5 architecture, wasn't it?
Oh, the K5, yes, my bad.
Athlon, like the old school Athlon 64s from like early 2000s.
Yes,
those guys.
Then he moved on to Apple, and then he came back to AMD, and rumor is he was working on Zen, and being the processor guy that he is, he probably was. And now he's gone. And then you had some...
There's two ways to look at this. One way, the way I like to think about it, because we love AMD, we all have AMD CPUs. GPUs, not so much, Brad, cause reasons. Is that, he developed Zen and he got everything together and he's like, okay, I'm out. I can't do anything further. Ship it and we'll see how that rolls. And he was like, yeah, I've been doing this a long time. I went to Apple, came back, did all this. Maybe he just wants to retire, but another way of looking at that is AMD says, okay, we're kind of putting everything on Zen, and if it doesn't work, we're not even thinking about developing future architectures. J-Man?
Well, x86 CPUs at least. They're still trying to corner that ARM market that they haven't really put in a dent.
Oh, you mean the one that's
in
delayed
the past 3 years?
2016.
But I mean, this if you look at this guy's past employment history, he basically goes in, he hops on a company, brings the project to completion, and then leaves to go do something else. So I think maybe people are reading too much into the lines, because they literally just brought brought him on. Hey, we need our CPUs to compete with Intel's. Okay, I've done that before. Doop, 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 doop. Okay, take my paycheck. I'm done. Bye-bye.
So I'm going to run a theoretical by you. Well, what if you just recently came into like over $1,000? Would you wait on this Zen architecture? I mean, just
No.
theoretical. No.
Theoretically, if I had some sort of windfall that was enough to pay for an entirely new computer. No, I don't know. I mean, seriously, the hearsay so far is that this will compete. Zen will compete with the Intel CPUs from this year, not next year when Intel's new sauce comes out. It's the new tick next year. So I don't know. I'm a bit skeptical. They promised us huge performance gains with Bulldozer, and that fell completely flat because my 5-year-old AMD CPU can outperform it in single-threaded tasks. So I don't know. Pedro?
Here's the thing. Zen is all well and good, but AMD have said that Zen would be originally, and probably forever, an enterprise application for the processor. They could do what Intel did with the Xeon line and make consumer-grade versions of those, but I don't think that AMD has the chops to do it. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
Hey, Pedro. Pedro.
Mm-hmm.
Want to see my VAC band?
That's nasty.
Is that your beat?
You're a pervert, Ben.
Nasty. The Universal Elite Game Trader for CLI Bass Linux Game Trader. It's a cheating mechanism. Traders is what people like.
Cheat.
It's a Game Shark, but it's completely open source. What is it? You never heard about it? It's an advanced free universal game trainer for the command line under GPL v3. The dynamic memory support sets it apart. Integrated preloader, a memory discovery, and memory hacking library are included for this. Now, basically, I mean, it's going to let you fuck with what's going on with the game. You can switch some bits out, and if you're stupid enough to use it on Steam, your ass is grass, son, as they say locally. I was kind of like, I don't really want to talk about this because a lot of people are like, oh, okay, I'm going to go. Most of those people are not going to be able to figure out how to use this. This could be something interesting for us traders. Maybe somebody wants to make it a bit more user-friendly than Coiled Rattlesnake. But please do not use this with Steam. But if you do, get screenshots, send them to us in our hate mail, and say it was all our fault.
It's going to be good. We'll send them to Gabe, and we'll have a good laugh about it. I mean, like, tools like this are good from an academic standpoint if you want to sort of get a deeper understanding of how games work. But yeah, this is a cheating tool. Don't cheat. Cheating's for, assholes.
LGC cares.
It's a stretch.
Coming up next.
War Vassal! Okay, I was actually surprised this made it into the show notes because I'm pretty sure we talked about this before. But this is a Vassal. It is a online tabletop for playing board games. I've tested it out with a couple games, Kill Dr. Lucky. But yeah, essentially there are a number of modules on their site. You download them, you load them into this application, and you can play board games like Twilight Imperium or Kill Dr. Lucky or Ticket to Ride or stuff like that.
Website hosted Mordor?
Yeah.
Actually, I know why this showed up in the notes, Jordan. On September 24th, a new module was released. Space Nazis from Hell.
Oh, sweet. We should totally play that. I actually, an interesting point about Vassal that I brought up in the notes is you can actually copyright specific identifying terms of rules of games. You can copyright the presentations, but the rules themselves you cannot for something like Rock, Paper, Scissors or, say, Dungeons & Dragons or something like that. But it gets a bit flaky because you can get big companies that just say, we will just sue you. We don't care if we have any legal standing. You can't afford a prolonged legal battle. We can.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Because in the US, you can't copyright rules, but you can copyright their implementation. Thanks, America.
Indeed. In America. Thanks, Obama. But there's a new story coming from Crow Team. We talked about them earlier in the Steam segment. They have a apparently Serious Sam 4 coming out. I hope it's not 100% brown like the last one. But they've brought on the writer of the Talos Principle to write the story for Serious Sam. Ben, you thought that you were curious to know that Serious Sam actually did have a plot. It was more of
that was the first thing I thought. Is like, there was a plot. I thought it was a smash run. Everything's brown.
pretty much. It's an excuse to kill people. That's gives you the framing for that. Oh my God, they're aliens! Shoot them!
But, Crow Team's an awesome lot, and I hope it's still in place because I just clapped when their anti-piracy method was to make the giant red scorpion chase you around.
It's actually a smaller giant red scorpion. It's just a smaller model, but it's immortal.
Yeah. I don't know. The writer of the Talos Principle, that kind of heavy, weighty game about the nature of consciousness and the nature of humanity. I don't know. Maybe the cigar-smoking Tyrannosaurus Rexes with the miniguns for arms will have polite intellectual discourse with you. Who knows? It should be fun stuff. And I guess, OpenRA's out too. Might as well switch on to that unless anyone else has something to say about Serious Sam.
OpenRA, what is it, Comrade?
Okay, so it's not a re-implementation. It is a game inspired by the Command & Conquer engine. They have modes for stuff like Dune 2000, Command & Conquer, and Red Alert. They're actually adding Tiberium Sun, a version inspired by that. That's a lot of groundwork from that has been added into this latest release, 2015-09-19, came out on the 19th of September. For those of you who don't understand dates. But they have a lot of AI fixes. They added the ability to, they sell like the Command & Conquer all-in-one CD that has all the games on it. So you can extract all the assets from those games and use them in this game, which is nice. It has that sort of compatibility.
So it's basically generic...
and they added a man page. They finally added a man page.
Finally, a man page, Giggity. Does this like confuse kids when they're looking at what they believe to be cutting-edge pixel hipster graphics? And they're like, wow, man, they must have some...
Well, I mean, it's a remake of a game from like 1999.
Well, no. I'm saying, it's fantastic for what it is. I'm just wondering whether the current crop of, like, everything must be, fortunately, it's dying down, must be pixels. You know what I'm saying, P-Man?
Yes. Fortunately, that's perhaps the only fortunate thing about the introduction of Unity, is that you don't get so many bullshit hipster pixel when it comes to the bottom line shovelware on Steam.
They'll find a way to power through, son.
Yeah.
Well, unless you provide like assets for sprites, no one's going to use them. That's just how it is.
Oh, there is Unity 2D, but that one isn't free though. But how about instead of Unity, we get into some ogre?
Go speed
Stunt
racist.
Rally. Don't you mean
Stunt
some
Rally
onions?
Was officially released in 2012. It had been in alpha and beta for frickin' hell of a long time before that.
It's pretty big
And
update.
now, in
2.6.
September 21st, 2015, it gets version 2.6, which has 5 new tracks, bringing the total up to 172. 2 new vehicles, 1 new car, and the motorbike implementation, you get a really crappy, shittily handling...
Hey, Pedro, you just need to calm down, man. They got the Batmobile in here, so...
Yes, they have the Batmobile, and their bike handles like complete arse. If you actually played Stunt Rally at any point in the past, you'll know how the cars basically don't handle. You pray that you manage to stay on the track and hit the handbrake at just the right time.
Every single day.
What?
For Revolution.
Here's
the bike
the
is actually
dice with
worse
this. I
than
mean, new version, a lot of new updates. I went to, make with the downloading, and I was like, oh, SourceForge, this bodes not well. Downloaded, and I think it was about a gigajoule and all that. And naturally, I got a 980, so I had an option. It was the impossible graphic setting, and I was like, yoink, I'll take me some of that.
The impossible girls section, the Oswin mode.
Right. And it managed to get 20 FERPs. But do not worry, because this game is based on simulation-grade V-drift physics, based on moon technology that has nothing to do with actual driving. It is amazing. If you ever wanted to see a physics engine designed by somebody who apparently has never driven anything ever, this is
on Earth, anyways.
Right.
Yeah, I know. It's the physics in this game seem to be based on some parallel universe where you pick up speed if you hit a wall.
Stick to walls.
Pretty sure that same wall is also magnetic because whenever you even so much as graze a wall, the car will immediately stick to it, and you won't be getting away from it anytime soon.
Anyway, we're
Pain in
not
the
hating on
ass.
the project. It's a fantastic little project. I personally have never tried it with a steering wheel. It could be a completely different system, but with a keyboard and gerbil, I didn't bother because it didn't auto-detect the gamepad, and I was like, don't care enough, not bothering. So check it out. It's completely open source.
Yeah,
Good
it
work
is.
on that business. But, J-Man, the greater good?
Oh yeah. So Kickstarter. You know, you might have heard of them. They're that company that allows game developers to promise Linux ports
Nope,
and
never heard of
ultimately collect money and never deliver for them. But they have decided
Linux
to
stretch goals for
restructure.
everyone.
There was talk of them having an IPO, but they've changed that, and now they are a public benefit corporation, which gives them some tax benefits. Ven has included a link in the show notes to a Reddit thread where there's a full-on tax law fight between two people who are trying to show who has the bigger EPIN. But I mean, it brings up, like, what is Kickstarter supposed to be about? They're saying now, oh, our operation is for the public good, the greater good. But I don't know. I remain kind of skeptical about that. Skeptical.
I mean, becoming a public benefit corporation means you're still a corporation, Brad. And I love Kickstarter. They've done a lot of good, and we've seen some good come out of it. We've seen a lot of, like, ooh, that was a bad fail, but it's your own issue. This is, there's no other way to put it. This is a tax restructuring to save them money. That's what this is about. Don't go, oh, they're going to, moonbeams and rain. No, that's not
No. Tax.
And apparently, Linux Nuru's brother just got a job at Kickstarter.
Oh, sweet. I think what we should do is make a Kickstarter and we'll release the Linux version of the videos. It'll be a stretch goal.
What's the that old real media? We'll release our videos in real media.
Oh, well, VLC can play them without an issue. You gotta pick something like analog or laserdisc format that you need to virtualize a laserdisc player in order to play it back. And yeah, I think that wraps up the news section, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so up next, I got some deja vu. Apparently, we are throwing chairs at Assault Android Cactus again. It's deja vu all over again. You might remember we reviewed Assault Android Cactus about 2 years ago. This was before we implemented our rule of no early access games. This game has now come out of early access, and so it gets a proper run at the CHAIRQUISITION. This is developed by Witchbeam Games. It's on the Unity 5 engine. It's reasonably priced at in around $15 of your regional currency. And Assault Android Cactus is an intense arcade-style twin-stick shooter. You pick from one of 9 unique synthetic heroines to blast your way through overwhelming robot hordes to save the ship from its own workforce. And it supports single-player and local co-op. They did send us keys back in 2013. That was when we reviewed it the first time. But this is Mark II, Assault Android Cactus 2 Electric Boogaloo. So we also have our chair acquisition metric. 1 chair means that it's garbage. 2 chairs means that it's meh. 3 chairs means that it's pretty good. 4 chairs means that it's awesome sauce. And we also have our categories to do, mixed with the working shiny sounds, controls, and fun. So let's kick this off. Then, take 2.
The Cactquisition, or however you want to do it. There's really no way to be clever about this bit. But
the Cactquisition.
Giggity. So, okay, how did it run on the Ubuntu 14.04 LTS 980 powered 4K displayed box of the business octa-core AMD 8150 data? Okay, I actually want to give this business an extra chair because being a Unity game, this does something that you would just expect every Unity game to be able to do. And this is first world 4K problems. Is, I want to check, between 2160 and 1080. I'll switch back and forth on the reg to see what the performance metric is. And a lot of times, and I mean a lot of times, 9 times out of 13, a game will just completely bork and it'll go into 4K at 1080 and you have one 1080 corner. This nails it every single time. It's brilliant. You apply the limited graphics settings. They do it right there. You don't no restarting, anything like that. And yeah, I genuinely enjoyed that. I almost want to give it an extra chair. So, from mixed with working, I'm going to give it all the 4s.
Yeah, Unity 5 has done wonders for, fixing basic input and display handling for Unity, so much so that the Unity screen to fuck you is gone forever. Long live Unity 5. But yeah, on the Fedora 22 powered AMD 1090Ti, the GTX 980, and the 4K display, this thing runs out of the box with no issues, no problems whatsoever. I'm gonna give that 4 chairs.
Yep. Same thing here on the AMD FX 8370E at 4.2 gigahertz with the overclocks, the GTX 970 Strix, and running Aurora 2164-bit. I had absolutely no issues. I hit play. It detected something that most Unity games do. It's like every single game will spawn on the left screen, and that's fine. That's the primary screen. That's where they're supposed to spawn. But then there's the Unity games that spawn on the right. Now, every time I see a game spawn on the right, oh, it's Unity, isn't it? Then I have a look at the game folder. Yep, yes it is. This one, not the case. It actually loaded itself up in the correct screen, so 4 chairs for me.
All right, so that's 4 chairs for Mix with the Working. Up next is Shiny and Sounds, then Shin.
It's all cactusy and my eyes are covered, not with ants, but kind of with awesomeness. It holds a steady 45 FERPs at 2160 with everything on 11, 150 at 1080p, again with everything on 11. The chibi-style Androids? Right. You know what? I'm just going to give you a pass on that. We're just not going to address that. We're just not. I'm a bit disappointed that FXAA is the best you got, and I'm really happy about that. Even with things on 11, I can still see the jaggies on the 28-inch 4K display. Since I'm sitting right in front of it, because, well, we'll get into that in the controls section. It's colorful, the character levels, really genuinely reflect a lot of love. I liked it. I was kind of jamming with that. The animation rigging, okay, it's bad. Okay, I mean, not laughably bad, and you do a little better than that. Fortunately, you don't see a whole lot of that, just like in the intro and like the lips. It was like, oh, okay, that's kind of base level. Maybe they wanted to do more with that. They never got around to it. The sounds, your standard arcade, pew, pew, pew. Nothing to write home about in that. I mean, they work. I didn't go, oh, I can't stand this. I need to put on Slayer. I could just deal with it. And I know they released OST DLC, but for the life of me, I'm unable to recall the background music. I know it was there, but and I'm not saying it wasn't good. I was just more focused on not getting murdered to death. So, yeah, at the end of the day, take that shot with the 3 chairs down your throat hole.
Oh yeah, no, I'm pretty sure I did hear a soundtrack while this game was playing. I just have no recollection of it because there's way too much shit on the screen to be focusing on. But it's good looking shit nonetheless. I semi disagree with the animation. It's a bit rudimentary at times, but I mean it gets the point across, and I guess the super deformed characters kind of help with that. The voice acting, and any amount of voice acting in any Linux game is a plus, and this has some voice acting in some parts, but not others, because dragons are expensive, So are Ven Stones, especially if you want them to do a high pitched girl's voice. Then you got to pay the big bucks. But it runs fairly well at 4K. Like Ven said, it's averaging about 45 FPS at 4K. I didn't notice any real graphical glitches, but again, it's more I'm trying to stay out of the path of things versus trying to appreciate the pretty. It does its job, and it does its job well. So I will give this game 3 chairs in the Shiny and the Sounds department.
Yeah, I agree with Jordan on this one, that the characters are so heavily stylized that the animation, for what it is, it gets the point across and it works. The voice acting, when present, is great. I kind of wish that they had voiced every last bit of dialogue, but they didn't. I'll get more into that in the fun. But for such a small team and a limited budget, these lot actually made the absolute best that they could. I kind of had to mute the background music because, like Van and Jordan already mentioned, it was kind of forgettable. And there's so much shit going on screen that you can't. Your brain just does not process it. So I just loaded up my harsh style techno playlist, and all of a sudden, hey, this works. But yeah, at 1080p with everything on 11 and enforcing 2 times MSAA through the NVIDIA settings because, like Ven already mentioned, there's only FXAA in the game. It was running at around 100, 110 constant, so that's pretty good. The art style, the sound design, the atmosphere all fit together, and it works. It's an awesome audio-visual experience. Not having other forms of anti-aliasing built in outside of FXAA, and the lack of voice acting in some places are really the only things I can point or I can fault this game for. So it gets 3 chairs.
So, according to Pedro, soundtrack needs more Sandstorm. 3 chairs for shiny and sounds. Up next is Control. Ven, how's the controls?
Did you release a twin-stick bullet hell shooter without the ability to adjust sensitivity? Yes, you did, Brad. Yes, you did. The right stick for me with the X-Clone controller is hella twitchy, making precise targeting fuck all impossible. Yes, I'm pretending precise and controller can be used in the same sentence. They can't. Not something I would expect from a game that proudly touts Steambox Ready on their store page. I just need a way to calibrate that business. Like in Victor Vran in that, I would never have been able to play that with the X-Clone controller if it wasn't, just to get the sensitivity where I wanted. This one's just way too twitchy for all that business. Fortunately, the keyboard and gerbil saves it from receiving 1 chair. And also, you can't rebind shit, and it's kind of not really irritating. It's logically laid out. I was kind of wondering why the hell they chose the spacebar for weapon swap versus right-click. Then I right-clicked. Then shit got real. And at the end of the day, this is a Linux box, personal computer, not a PS4. Lack of rebindable controls and no way to set the sensitivity, not just with the mouse. I mean, I can do that with the EP Yellow Swag Gerbil. It's got that button, but this is not the type of game that I want to sit directly in front of the fucking monitor. This is something I want the big picture experience, and that's not there. It's not busted. It could be improved. I'm going to give it 2 chairs. It's there.
Speaking of PlayStation 4s, I plugged in my PlayStation 4 controller, went to options, and I selected control as my main input, and it says, press a button on your controller. So I did, and it auto-detected my PS4 controller. Everything worked out of the box. All the button prompts changed to the appropriate ones. So that was nice. It's always fun when a Unity game gets controls right, and I think with Unity 5, it's going to get a little better. I didn't have the problem with the twin sticks that these guys had with their Xbox controllers. That may just have to do with the construction of the PlayStation 4 controller or the driver, or who knows. Regardless, I was able to play the game fine with the controller organ. Specifically this guy here, the DualShock 4.
Filthy
Black now,
console peasant.
So racist. But yeah, I had no issues with the controls. They were responsive enough. Again, using analog sticks as opposed to, a keyboard and mouse, you're only going to be so accurate. But it was passable. I'd give it 3 chairs.
Yeah, I had issues with the controls. I had so many issues, in fact, that just like Ven, I looked at the prompt on screen and it said, yeah, hit space to switch to the, to switch weapons or dodge. I'm like, crap. How the hell do I get to space? I play with the arrow keys, which are on one side, and the space bar is on the other side. Okay, so I'll just lift the mouse off the mat and hit the space bar whenever I want to switch. So then I went to Twitter. And I asked Syama Mishra, which is one of the guys behind the game, and so who should I be verbally inconveniencing over the lack of rebindable controls on Assault Android Cactus? And he said that would be Ironic Account. His name is Tim Dawson.
Totally threw somebody under the bus, didn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's also on the list, and they link my forum post on Steam asking about the same thing, and I just posted the Grumpy Cat. Good! But it's Saturday now, and they still have not introduced rebindable controls, so 2 chairs.
All right, so that's 2 chairs for controls, and finally, our final and subjective category, fun. Ben, did you enjoy yourself?
Oh, did I enjoy? I always enjoy myself, and especially hanging out with you guys, who I love. So
I think I'm gonna puke.
Okay, I like the attempts at humor, but they do fall a bit flat. Granted, the dead inside android who picks her nose and screams pineapple and runs around and she's like, oh, shiny wings. It's like, that's cute in its own way. The constant battery drain mechanic versus lives is interesting, but you best not miss a battery drop because that's your arse, son. Finding the right character best suited for the boss fight, that's also interesting. And I had to, mark through here because until 2 days ago, I was like, fuck that first boss, I can't beat him. Then I finally switched over to the keyboard and gerbil input and learned about switching weapons with the right side. So I was like, I kicked its ass after 12 tries, and it was brilliant. One thing I didn't like is you get to get some points to unlock things. Like there's a first-person shooter mode, and there's AI assist modes and all that. It's like, it's kind of a dick move, Brad. That's just kind of be there. I shouldn't artificially have to keep playing your game. If I want to play your game, I'm going to like your game. I'm going to keep playing it anyway. I mean, there's the letterboards and all that. I just kind of felt that just rubbed me the wrong way. It's like, that's kind of artificially extending the playtime. Nighttime is coming. At the end of the day, though, the levels are easy sauce, but they do ill prepare you for the boss fights because those are just straight up curb stomp you, which is good. Now you're like, all right, if there's okay, here's the boss, and you're like, now we start playing. I want to call it maybe a rage quit light because it will summon the Alt F4, which is the noob switch that rage quit and all that business. But the entire time, while you're like, screw this game, you're like, I'll get it next time. I'll get you next time, Brad. Don't worry about it. And that's a good thing. So I'm going to give it 3 chairs.
Yeah, the bosses in this, they if you are not ready, they will just fuck your shit up right off. Like from the get-go, levels start and they already melee attack you and you're down and you gotta blow your battery. Actually, it was kind of interesting how they work together with they combined the life mechanic with the ammo mechanic because your battery drains the more you shoot. So that seemed a bit interesting. Like Ben said, you basically have to get every single battery that drops. And oh yeah, good luck if it's on the other side of that map because you're wading through a fuck ton of enemies to get to that, or else you're gonna die anyways. That being said, though, this game actually has a really, really solid learning curve because it starts you off easy enough and it gently ramps up the difficulty until you can start taking on really, really complicated challenges and even boss fights. And it's all building upon what you've been doing so far. And I'm personally not a big fan of shmups, but this is very, very well done. That first fucking boss, though, that took me 5 tries. Second boss, I'm still working on. That thing just will outright wreck your shit. Also the stage before that one, I'm having some trouble with. Pedro recommended I use Cactus on that one, so I'll give that a shot at some point. I mean, the unlockables are nice. You have to get good enough. You have to get enough points to unlock specific droids and whatnot. And I didn't unlock the AI assist stuff. I didn't really explore that much into the game. But I remember the main thing to take away from this is I remember that this game was so much worse than it actually was when I played it 2 years ago. It has improved considerably. Enjoy your revised score. 3 chairs, man. You deserved it.
Yeah, this game has made leaps and bounds since we first got the keys back in 2013. The textures actually look like proper textures, and the shading effects actually work. Although on my end, that's probably because I'm not stuck on a 2009 Toshiba calculator with AMD graphics chips. Maybe that's the case. But like I mentioned in the Shiny and Sounds, the partial voice acting is, I feel, a point in its disfavor. The voice acting is great. It feels right given the setting, the design choice, and the overall silliness of the game. It's just too bad that they couldn't have the entire lines of dialogue between the android you're playing and the bosses and everything else fully voice acted.
That's kind of jarring, awesome. Isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
It goes to that Nintendo.
Like you get the first two or three lines
too.
Yeah. But the combat right now feels so much better. Each shot, especially with the shotgun android, Corral, it has real punch to it. They have some camera effects that actually make it feel like you're actually shooting a shotgun. It feels stupidly satisfying to nope 5 or 6 enemies in a single shot. That's amazing. But one thing I thought was genuinely evil was the leaderboard. At the end of each level, you get to score, and then it matches you up. If you're below any of your Steam friends, it'll give you the name of your Steam friend. And
You didn't like
his
Grandpa
or her
beating
score.
you, did you?
Yeah.
Old Rick!
So, I had already made it to like stage 3, and I decided to go back. Yeah, let's see if I can improve my scores. And I went back and I see Jordan, Ven, and Sleep Beef all having higher scores than me. And I'm like, yeah, no, that's not going to work. So I have since corrected that little hiccup. I am now in first place. But yeah, at least in the
How's
friends list.
that EP feel? Does it feel good?
Yes.
Are you
yes,
about to
it does.
come all over your face? Wrap it up,
But yeah,
Pedro.
to wrap this up, if I had to criticize this game in any way, is that the androids are not balanced. Holly and Cactus are considerably, objectively better than Corral or Starch, that inside one that Ven mentioned earlier.
Pineapple.
Yeah. Also, it's local multiplayer only.
So
Even
come
considering
on,
that,
NVIDIA Shadow
I'm
Play.
still willing to give it 4 chairs. Because
All right,
it is
so that
fun.
tallies up to 3 chairs for fun and 3 chairs for final score. Assault Android Cactus actually bumped up a chair from its previous review. So good on you. It's a fun game. I suggest picking it up. It's not horrifically expensive, and it's a great party game too if you have some people over. But even if you're just playing on your own, the leaderboard mechanic really does like incentivize you to get better and better and better and fuck over your friends. Just ask Pedro. But final thoughts?
That's what I had to check. Coming in at regularly $14.99, $11.99. I would almost say pick it up if you're into, even if you're only kind of into bullet hell shmup type stuff like that.
I don't like them, and I
had a good time. If they fix the controller issues, because just keep that in mind. You might not be able to have the big picture experience sitting on your couch organ with this if you're like me and you just find it too twitchy. Currently, there's no way to adjust that. They might do that later on. So I'm gonna, not 100%. Just go ahead and buy it. I mean, if you see this thing if you see it 50% off, just pick it up, though.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I personally, twin stick shooters have never really been my cup of tea. I don't hate them like I do real-time strategy games, but I'll play them, but I'll play them in short bursts. I'll pick it up, finish a couple of levels, get my ass kicked on a specific level, then rage quit, and maybe the next day or a couple hours later, I'll go back, finish that level, do it all over again. And this is a game that actively rewards that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, the more you play, the more you want to play because you feel awesome, and if you manage to finish a level without any of the enemies touching you, you actually feel like a badass. So yeah, this is a definite must-buy.
All right, so up next, we talk about pros and cons of DRM, and Pedro has an admirer.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's the hate mail. It is my favorite segment of the week. Now, this week, it's not so much hate. It's actually got a little bit of love, a little bit of hate, a little bit of a PSA. That's good times. You know how to get in touch with us, right? You should. If you don't, shame on you. LinuxGameCast.com, contact button. It's not that hard. Just remember, read those big-ass bold letters that Ven put up there. All right,
Needs blink tag.
Yeah.
Needs more marquee tags.
But yeah, someone was talking to us about DRM. Mr. R. Theron said, hello. Why is for some people necessary to have DRM-free games from sites like GOG.com? Is the DRM that bad? Best regards.
Well, Brad, let's just go ahead and put it like this. Some people like owning their own games, and that's DRM free. I was like, hey, I actually own the bits and the pieces and all that. Unfortunately, some people are just filthy fucking pirates. They're like, I'm waiting for the GOG release so I can pirate it. I hate to say that. No, there is a subset of people like that. And you also got to keep in the back of your brain organ, at the end of the day, take that shot. What happens on the very unlikely thing that Steam goes away because, technically you own the games, but if the Steam's not there, I know there are DRM-free games on the Steams. Save that. I don't want to let you know, vendors. Hashtag Monster Cameron. Just had to get that out of there.
Hashtag R990.
Uber.
Here's the fucking thing, man. If 20 years from now, 30 years from now, Steam could, it wasn't around 20 years ago. It might not be around. It could, hopefully it's not going to be like Origin or anything like that. And you're going to have a lot of games that you're going to have access to. So I think in that way, DRM-free, I'm kind of a proponent of DRM-free. I don't go out of my way, Steam has DRM for the most part. And yes, DRM is quite a bit of a cancer. It's just that Steam is like the good type of cancer, he says, question mark, J-Baby.
It's a benign tumor.
I mean, really it boils down to that any DRM is bad, period. It is just pure anti-consumer, and at best it does nothing, at worst it punishes legitimate users for the actions of a small minority of people who will bypass the DRM anyways, and it will inconvenience them for all of 30 seconds. Meanwhile, you have legitimate users who can't actually use their software, music, movies, whatever.
Come on, man. I just need your root password to install the game.
Yeah.
Origin Analytics.
Exactly. And like Ven said, Valve goes away, they make some policy change, all of a sudden you can't access your games. I mean, Steam's particular flavor of DRM, they say, well, we're doing digital rights restriction management, but in exchange, you get some cool shit. You get your save synced across everything. You get community, you get trading cards, you get all that stuff. And so it sort of lets you look past that. But certainly a store like GOG that is devoted to selling DRM-free games is beneficial, and I would say even required, just so that, people do have the option. Because these days you're not paying for a game, you're paying for a license to play that game, which can be revoked by their publisher, by the vendor. Who cares? If you actually pay for a game and download the bits and you have ownership over those bits, that will always be a preferable option to just releasing the game.
Well, I mean, you got to think. what happens after your account just gets straight up hijacked?
Really, I say it in the show notes, just hedging your bets. Something will probably not happen, but in case it does, hey, at least you own all the stuff that is attributed to your account.
Right. P-Man, don't you think if we had that GOG client on Linux, it might be a more viable option? Because aren't we kind of past the days of having a billion game folders scattered around?
Yes, we are. And if we're going to play a little bit of the Zealot's advocate here, the problem is GOG is not a competitor to Steam in any way, shape, or form. Not on Windows, and definitely not on Linux.
No, it's kind of like Desiro that didn't go bankrupt.
Yeah.
Oh, snap!
There is no other store integrated into a centralized client like Steam is at this point. There was the Sura, but yeah, it's dead in the water, and it was basically at the end was where all the Steam Greenlight rejects went to die. Itch.io pick up said rejects, but that's all they have. They don't have a client either. Humble has a store, and it's shaping up pretty nicely, but again, no client. So at this point, you either get convenience and some DRM-free games like Steam has. There's actually a list of DRM. Yeah. There's actually a list of DRM-free games available. Just type list of DRM-free games on Steam.
DRM-free, what does that mean, P-Man? Can I just move that into another folder and keep it forever?
Yes. Yep.
All right, sweet.
You just go to the Steam Apps folder. Actually, I've done that. Every single DRM-free game I have on Steam is currently living in my external hard drive, including all the Humble and GOG ones. Just cuz.
Just like Rochard.
At this point, you get convenience or DRM-free.
Dwayne, new game in development. To the LinuxGameCast team. My name is Dwayne The Rock John. I'm just making that last part up.
I wish. That would be awesome,
that'd be great.
Man.
And I'm developing a game for Linux, Mac, and Windows. I tried to converse with communities. Hope to reach more links for your channel. If you deem it worthy and relevant, the game in question has been in development for 90% complete, only with Steam community, blah, 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 blah. It would be fantastic if you could check out the game and let me know if there was any way you could show it to your community, question mark. The link below has been redacted. Thank you for your time. Take care and have an excellent day. He did genuinely provide a link, but as P-Man kind of pointed out, there's this thing here. It says, okay, if you're promoting your Greenlight, Kickstarter, or anything like that, any type of project, you got to send us a demo. We got to see a working build of it. And if you need to think about that, and you want to send us some keys or, Dropbox links or whatever, count the amount of people that are in the picture, which contains, me and Pedro and a Canadian. So
we don't show up in photographs or cast a reflection. I mean,
no, it's just digital.
We're not even going to talk about your game, Brian, because there's no demo, there's nothing. It's just on Greenlight, and I'm not saying it's going to be a bad game, but I'm saying I'm not backing anyone who fails basic reading comprehension 101. And it's not like you're on a damn spam list or anything sending this to me. You went to the site, filled out the form. It tells me that you filled out the form on the contact page when I get the email. You read everything and went, wait, hang on, let's do a little role playing. Jordan, will you help me out on this?
Sure, I got my 20 set here. I can role play.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You're going to try to sell this to me. Why did you just send me a link to your game without providing a demo?
Oh, because I thought it'd be worth your time, man. Gonna get some promotion going, get people going to our Greenlight page. Bro, come on.
What do you think your game's like? Are you special? We should bend the rules just for your project? I mean, is that
you see, interfacing with the Linux community is like really, really hard. It's impossible. There's like no way to do it at all. Period.
So we needed to take down that even like AAA studios and Feral and all that. We need to throw all that away and make this exception for your Greenlight game that you've not provided a demo for even Windows, Mac, or anything like that, right? That's what we need to do.
Yeah, bro.
Oh, all right. Okay. I don't think that's going to happen. So up next.
Save the penguin. Oh, this is a big old wall of text from Christopher Wade. Oh yeah. You can read this. There's a link to it in the show notes.
Summarize it, baby.
Thing will be on Slexy for a while. Basically, it's talking about this court case that's going on that would essentially stop you from flashing your own firmware on your internet router, your home wireless device, and so on and so forth. And it's actually kind of a big deal.
Are you kidding me? I love pulling my junk out in front of my router.
Well, I mean, so do I. I love irradiating my testicles. It's just my favorite hobby. No, but it is an important issue. I mean, we don't really talk about this kind of stuff on LinuxGameCast, but certainly this thing could definitely use a signal boost. They're trying to create some sort of campaign in order to tell people and spread the word so that we can have open source software.
SaveWiFi.org. This will be the show notes.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
This came from the guy behind thinkpenguin.com. It's that store that sells laptops and desktops preloaded with Linux. The first line he says that he was referred to us by the host of another Linux podcast. So I'd like to extend my kudos to either Steve McLaughlin or Cody Cooper, or maybe it was one of the Everyday Linux guys.
It's from the Ubuntu Community Podcast, guys. Come on.
But yeah, this is basically the thing with the FCC that's going on right now is that if this goes through, it will not only affect routers and bridges, like Jordan said, it will actually affect anything that has a Wi-Fi connection. Tablets, cell phones, laptops, PCs, anything. You will not be able to load up your own custom operating system into any of those devices.
So what you're telling me is like no more, what is it? I guess Tomato's dead by now, isn't it?
Oh, OpenWRT, DDWRT.
DDRT.
Those guys.
Yeah.
Those guys.
So yeah, this is serious.
Well, not necessarily, unless it ships with the device itself.
But that's also a big issue that a lot of people are addressing. Even Google's trying to address that with their overpriced, underperforming router that they've released. That auto updates, and I don't know, man. I mean, I'm completely behind this 100%. I mean, when I say behind it, I'm against what they're actually trying to do and blocking that. I mean, it's just a bunch of crazy sauce, if you ask me.
And it's just leveraging the DMCA to create chilling effects. It's basically saying, oh yeah, this firmware isn't encrypted. You can't reflash something else on it because that's circumvention and that's illegal because you don't want people poking around with radio.
Linux actually has a point and shot.
Yep. I don't know, because that kind of stuff, your operating system is stored on an SD card. You can easily plug that out and plug it back in. with the new operating system.
Well, yeah. In that case, it would
We're talking
But,
about hardware with like specific ROMs that have that require like flashing.
Yeah. But this thing is, I lost my train of thought. Never mind. Carry
And
on.
on that bombshell,
And on
let's
that
keep
bombshell.
the music. You can always find us around 9:30 Eastern Standard Moon Time. If you don't know when that moon time is, just go to the Googles, type in time in Athens, Georgia, and figure it out. You know, do the maths. We promise there was no maths.
Yeah, Golden Dawn.
Just a little bit of maths. You can always find me at Vinstone on the Twitter nets, cleverly disguised, also on the G pluses under Vinstone.
I'm Jordan Svung. You can find me at The Burning Fool on Twitter, or plus Jordan Svung on the Google Plus. It's spelled Quang because Quang.
I don't know who I am. I just don't know.
Good.
Good. Your attempts at humor always fall flat.
See you next week, folks.
Tiny Rick!
Hashtag Tiny Rick.
It would make me so happy if Pedro had a legitimate stroke.
I actually had a legitimate brain fart.
Like, why is the camera, the monitor's on me? Who am I? Nori, help.
No, just fucking aneurysm. Just face slams on like 5 dudes.